Alongside all of this, there'll have to be a whole new set of agreements as well, which will underpin the new relationship. Priorities there will include immigration and border control, trade deals and customs agreements, security and intelligence. I haven't even mentioned the deals and agreements the UK is going to have to reach with non-EU countries. The British government is going to have to work on lots of new trade and immigration deals with countries around the world. The UK says it wants to avoid falling off a disruptive cliff edge. Well, now the clock is ticking.
Well, what happens next? Let's discuss that with Vernon Bogdanor. He's a professor of government at King's College London, and he joins me here live. Thanks, sir, for being with us. So, I had Alistair Campbell on, the press secretary of former Prime Minister Tony Blair. He said this is not inevitable. We can still come back from this. Is he right?
Someone said that the only inevitable things are death and taxes. Now, this isn't quite in that class, but the government has said, as a matter of policy, it does not intend to revoke Article 50. So I think it's highly unlikely that we'll be in the European Union after another 2 years. We will almost certainly leave.
But, okay, you will almost certainly leave, but will you almost certainly have a deal, or even the deal that the UK wants?
A deal, I believe, is highly unlikely. We're talking about a free trade deal within 2 years. Probably 18 months, if you remember that the French elections are in May and the German elections in September. Now, the only other unit to have left Europe was Greenland, which is part of Denmark, which is a small community whose only industry is fishing. That took 3 years to negotiate a deal. Now, Britain is a slightly more complex economy. Are we really saying a free trade deal can be achieved within 2 years? Canada has taken 7 years.
But why then are government officials, the Prime Minister, others, those who supported Brexit from the beginning, saying then that it is possible? Are they not understanding the complexities? Are they saying it to make people feel better, knowing full well it won't happen?
Well, the aim of the government is to get a free trade deal, and the government's view is this is as much in the interest of the European Union as it is with Britain. But it seems to me it's very optimistic to think it will be achieved.
Who's holding the cards here? I mean, Peter Bone, an MP who supported Brexit, said the UK. I mean, it's a very important market for the EU. Angela Merkel can say whatever she likes, but German car makers are not going to want her to delay, the talks on free trade and access to this market. But then again, you have the 27-member bloc that perhaps would be the one to kind of set the tone here.
The European Union has the cards. Article 50 says that 2 years after it's invoked, unless there's unanimous agreement to extend the time, you are out of the European Union. So in theory, the other 27 could simply sit on their hands for 2 years and we would be out without a deal. So I think the cards are in the hands of the European Union, and that was the purpose of Article 50, not to make it too easy to leave the European Union. No one likes it when a member resigns from a club.
Brexit supporters say, though, well, we could leave without a trade deal. We'll revert back to WTO rules. The UK is not a member of the WTO right now.
No,
obviously,
I think we are members through our original membership of GATT. I think our membership of the WTO does not depend on the European Union, though some would disagree. Well, we could, as the Brexiteers say, we could leave without a deal. That means we become a free trade economy, a kind of global free trade hub in the way that Singapore, for example, is. Now, we're a bit different from Singapore. Singapore relies on its tremendous skills. Now, do we use our skills to the same extent? It would mean, for example, we couldn't protect the steel industry, we couldn't protect our farmers. We'd be at the mercy, if you like, of the free market. And the great danger of that is that the people who voted for Brexit, the so-called left behind, the people who think they've had a bad deal from globalisation, they'd get even a worse deal because we'd be more exposed to globalisation outside the EU than inside.
It doesn't sound like you're saying that this is on any level going to be a good thing for the UK to leave.
Well, it's going to be difficult, and we have to adjust.
Can it be good? What's a good deal for the
UK?
Well,
the best deal for us would be a deal that enabled us to use our skills to prosper. Because if you have goods and services that other people want to buy, they will buy them, whether you've got a trade deal or not.
Right.
Our fundamental problem, which would be worse leaving the EU, is that we have a pretty poor skills record. Our literacy and numeracy rates are not very good. We have very good universities. We do well in educating the elite, not so well in educating those skills who are vocational and technical. And
unlike Germany, which is good at that.
Absolutely, and would be thrown on world markets when we leave leave the EU, and that is the fundamental problem that we will face.
Vernon Bogdanor, pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining us on CNN. Coming up, a lot more. It's been a long and sometimes stormy relationship through the years. Now Britain has finally started the process of divorcing the EU. We will take you down memory lane after a break.